For nearly a decade, it has been enshrined in Florida state law that every year 3 people are to be added to the Florida Civil Rights Hall of Fame to honor them for their contributions in the fight for justice and equality. The Commission on Human Relations recommends up to 10 people, from which the governor selects 3. Their names and portraits are hung in the entrance to the state capitol. But this hasn't happened since 2019, which just by chance was also Governor Ron DeSantis' first year in office. And last week, religious leaders and local officials gathered to ask why. According to one official with the commission, the reason for the holdup was COVID, which is weird, right? Considering the Florida governor's blatant opposition to every other pandemic safety measure. I mean, that was literally what built his brand. The commissioners say that they're still awaiting the governor's selection of nominees, which I wouldn't expect anytime soon, considering his current priorities include announcing his presidential run during a convo with Twitter's chief troll and CEO Elon Musk. Now, I know it may be surprising since he doesn't allow it to be taught in Florida schools, but Ron DeSantis was actually a history teacher back in the day in Georgia. I mean, one of his students said that he taught the Civil War in a way that seemed like an attempt to justify slavery, but he did teach it. And believe it or not, he's also written a history book. Back in 2011, before his political career took off, DeSantis penned Dreams from Our Founding Fathers, First Principles in the Age of Obama. The book has since been almost completely scrubbed from the internet. There is currently literally one copy available on Amazon for just under $2,000. But according to the Washington Post, Gillian Brockwell, who was able to obtain a digital copy before it, poof, disappeared. The book is exactly what you'd expect from Ron DeSantis, an ahistorical mess, best summarized as Founders good, Obama bad. Joining me now is Gillian Brockwell, staff writer for the Washington Post history blog, Retropolis. What a great name. And I enjoyed your article, Gillian, more than a lot of stuff I've read recently. It was a lot of fun. Please explain to me this very hard to find book that apparently the publisher pulled off of their online roster.
Yeah, I actually don't know what happened with the book because the publisher won't call me back. I emailed and called and they haven't told me exactly why it disappeared. But I do know that I bought it last summer thinking, oh, this might be fun. I cover history on my beat. His profile was, rising. So I purchased it. And then when it was clear he was going to run for president, I read it, which I'm glad you enjoyed reading my article. It was it was not very fun reading the book, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. And sometime before he released his campaign book that's not a campaign book this winter, the book disappeared. His first book disappeared from the internet.
Poof. It's not The Courage to Be Free, but, So this is one of my favorite stories in your book. And this is what you wrote. DeSantis quotes James Madison at Virginia's 1829 Constitutional Convention, saying he advised the delegates that these natural rights cannot be separated. The personal right to acquire property, which is a natural right, gives to property when acquired a right to protection, a social right. But he left out the part that the property he meant was people. The property he meant was people, slaves.
I mean, it was 2 paragraphs later in the speech that he quotes from that Madison makes it very plain that he is talking about enslaved African Americans, and he's saying that in this state constitutional convention that he doesn't want white men who don't own property to be able to vote because they could tax slavery into, being unprofitable for him and other enslavers. DeSantis is using that quote in his book to say that, the founders would have hated the individual mandate in the Affordable Care Act. That's not what Madison was talking about.
The only 2 black people that seem to appear in his book are Obama, who bad, Obama bad, and also Dr. King, who gets the usual same quote that all the Republicans use. Talk a little bit about this footnote from I Have a Dream, where he got it.
Yeah, so, I think it's a pretty standard thing to give sort of milquetoast quotes from King so that, of course, everyone does it once a year on their Twitter, which Bernice King is always saying this is not what my father supported, etc. Anyway, so he used this brief quote about from King in the I Have a Dream speech, saying that the Constitution was magnificent words and that it was a promissory note to future Americans. And you know, I mean, I have to say, most politicians who write about history are not using footnotes, do not have coherent arguments, are, you know, terrible. And he had footnotes, and his arguments were coherent, even if they were completely taken out of context and, you know, cherry picking and ahistorical. So there's that. Anyway, his footnote for King is the Yale Book of Quotations. It's not the I Have a Dream speech where it came from. And I don't mean to diss books of quotations. I think they're great. They're wonderful for what they are. That's not doing history. Books of quotations is not doing history.
And what Dr. King was trying to say is that the beautiful words in the Constitution are not being applied to Black people.
Right.
Like, he leaves all that out. My last question here, slavery is something he has really seemed to try to justify. Does he do that in the book as well?
Yeah, I mean, so in the intro, he kind of confronts slavery head on, because you have to if you're talking about the founding fathers. But it's just for a couple paragraphs to say, you know, like, and this is why I'm not going to mention slavery in the rest of the book, you know, and, you know, his justifications, he calls it a personal flaw of some of the founders.
Personal flaw.
Which is maybe a little bit of minimizing. I'll leave that to anyone's interpretation. But he also says, you know, this is a common thing that I hear a lot, is that slavery was happening throughout human history. And, you know, it's this variation on this argument of, like, people didn't know it was wrong back then.
They didn't know.
Which, first of all, isn't true. Plenty of people did, the enslaved people themselves being the most important.
And abolitionists.
And then, yes. And then the last thing is that, the enslaved people themselves are the most important people to have said, you know, that
it's wrong.
This was wrong.
And the fact that you point out, as you point out in your article, congenital slavery based on race, that was invented here in America. That was not going on anywhere else on earth ever, just here. And his buddy Madison was one of the people profiting from it. Gillian Brackell, thank you very much. Much appreciated. Really enjoyed your article. Coming up next,